of different countries abroad that everybody doesn't have that easy access to voting, and I realize that it really makes a difference to have the participation of a wider electorate, especially on women's issues. Women hold up half of the sky, as they say, and if women's issues aren't being represented, then we have a more challenging time with childcare or with other issues in terms of women making decisions.
As the US elections approach, these American voters in Ethiopia remain engaged despite the distance from home. Their voices, along with those of many other expatriates, could play a critical role in determining the next president of the United States. Iskandar Freo, VOA Africa, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
For analysis on the presidential election, joining me live from here in Washington is Todd Belt, a professor and director of political management at George Washington University. Todd, both Harris and Trump are campaigning hard to win this tight race. How are things looking at this moment for both candidates?
Hi, Esther. It's great to be with you again, and greetings to your viewers. Boy, we've got a really tight election. Obviously, we don't use the popular vote to determine who's going to be president. We use the Electoral College, which means that a few key states are really what's important. There are 7 states that are really toss-ups right now. Kamala Harris is ahead in about 2 of them. Donald Trump is ahead in about 3 of them, and then the other 2 are toss-ups. So it could really go either way. It looks, though, like the key state that's going to really determine the election is probably going to be Pennsylvania. That one has been within the margin of error in the polling, and it's really hard to see how each candidate gets past 270 electoral votes, that magic number they need to win the White House, without Pennsylvania.
Indeed, a tight race, and Kamala Harris last night addressed a rally in Washington, D.C. What do you think were her key highlights in the speech that she made?
Well, I know exactly what they were because I was there. The Ellipse is just a few blocks from our university, and I walked over there to attend the rally. And most of it was very, very much focused on economics and exactly what her policies would do to make people's lives better, which is interesting because we haven't heard much from her on this. Her whole policy agenda talking about the Opportunity Society has really been light on details, but we got a lot of it last night, and a lot of people were wondering exactly what she would do to make things better for them. And also she made some clear contrasts with Donald Trump. Obviously, symbolically at the same place where he instigated the January 6th insurrection riots. And behind her was also the White House South portico in the background. So obviously very symbolic in terms of her decision to make the contrast both rhetorically and symbolically.
Todd, both candidates have publicly criticized each other, but the question is, do they seem to have kind of similar ideas on how to meet the expectations of the American people?
Well, it's very different, actually. The only real similarity I see is both of them want to get rid of taxes on tips for workers who earn tips. But other than that, it's very different. You see Kamala Harris talking about having a child tax credit, as well as having assistance for first-time home buying, and allowing the Social Security to cover, Medicare to cover late life care. And then you see Donald Trump talking about tax cuts and tariffs, which he always talks about. He talks about the border and securing the border and deporting people who are here in the United States illegally. So those are really the main contrasts.
Todd, thank you so much for your insight. Todd Belt is professor and director of political management at George Washington University.
Thank you.
Reporters from VOA Africa Division's 10 language services spoke to people about what the expectations are after a new U.S. president is elected. In the third of a 5-part series titled Messages to the Next U.S. President, we hear from people across the continent about the expectations for U.S.-Africa relations, regional issues, and global challenges.
immigration has become a focal point in the United States election. Many people are accusing immigrants who are coming into the country that they are the ones committing crimes. So I'm looking at a president who will be able to come up with policies that will ease these immigrational challenges that we are having. All right, it's so important to me.
Our expectation in the new leadership is that the issue of democracy, we uphold democracy. As they uphold democracy in their country, we expect the same, so that we don't see them supporting a country being partisan. If it is democracy, let them advocate democracy everywhere.
So I'm looking forward to some policies and initiatives concerning the trade that would see the growth of not just one country, but will see the prosperity of both countries, okay?
We expect transparency in relations between the United States and Africa. We need a more equal relationship, where each party can and must earn what it deserves.
Oh, I feel like they should maybe hear out what the Africans have to say. Maybe talking to the younger people, they can talk to them, because there's some racial divide sometimes and some trading. Yeah, so I feel like they should just reach out to the people that they feel like they're comfortable reaching out to instead of Africans only.
People across Africa talking about the expectations for U.S.-Africa relations from the next U.S. president. Still to come. Botswana voters are casting their ballots Wednesday amid concerns of irregularities. We'll be right back.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, the U.S. presidential election is on November 5th, and both candidates, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, are in a final campaign sprint to win the White House. The race is very close, with everyone watching 7 key battleground states that can sway the election to either side. Join me, Vincent McCory, for a discussion of the U.S. presidential election and how the outcome might affect the U.S.-Africa relations.
How are they going to relate with Africa now? Because Africa is, in the meanwhile, changing.
We've had 2 people who have been there before, and
you can take in more people from Africa to train them in leadership.
Opportunities, economic opportunity, educational opportunities.
A pivotal event that captures the world's attention.
In other news, Somalia is expelling Ethiopian diplomat Ali Mohammed Adan. Somalia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs is accusing the diplomat of engaging in, quote, activities incompatible with his diplomatic role. Adan, who is a counselor at Ethiopia's embassy in Mogadishu, was ordered to leave Somalia within 72 hours of receiving the notice. VOA sought comments from the Ethiopia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but did not receive any. The International Organization for Migration is warning that Sudan's displacement crisis is worsening as increasing numbers of people flee fighting, hunger, and sexual violence. Amy Pope, IOM Director General, says, quote, the scale of this displacement and the corresponding humanitarian needs grows every day. Pope says nearly 30 of Sudan's population are displaced. And Chad's President Mahamat Idriss Deby is launching a security operation to track and neutralize several hundred Boko Haram fighters who attacked and killed more than 40 Chad government troops on Sunday in the Lake Chad basin shared by Cameroon, Nigeria, Niger, and Chad. Chad State TV reports that President Deby has ordered that flags be flown at half-staff. Botswana voters cast their ballots on Wednesday in a general election amid concerns of irregularities. An election determines whether President Mokgweetsi Masisi secures a second term, with slowing economic growth driven by declining diamond demand being the central issue. Mkondisi Dube reports from Havarone, Botswana.
Political parties intensified campaigns ahead of the polls as more than 1 million registered voters prepared to cast their ballots on Wednesday. However, opposition parties have already alleged the poll will not be free and fair. Mpho Pheko, spokesperson of the opposition Botswana Congress Party, says the party is prepared well but does not think the poll is properly organized. She accuses electoral body, the Independent Electoral Commission, of trying to tilt the scales in favor of the ruling Botswana Democratic Party, or BDP.
We want the entire world to put a watchful eye on Botswana. We have been called, an example of democracy. We were one of the oldest democracies in Africa. But what we have seen in the past couple of weeks, or even year, let me say that, it really puts a lot of question marks on what the BDP is planning.
On Monday, the BCP took the IEC to court demanding an electronic voter register while also calling for the counting of ballots at voting centers. A coalition of opposition parties under the umbrella for Democratic Change, UDC, has also raised concerns about this week's poll. Penyo Budale of the UDC accuses the BDP of colluding with the Zimbabwean government to cheat in the election.
We have been receiving information, credible information, that there is an attempt by the Zimbabwean government to assist their friends here, the ruling party in Botswana, through clandestine means.
Kalalelo Kinzi of the ruling Botswana Democratic Party says the opposition's rigging claims are a sign of desperation. Kinzi says the opposition made the same assertions during the 2019 election but failed to prove them in court. This year's election is likely to be a close contest, according to Zibani Maondeni, a professor at the University of Botswana. Maondeni does not rule out a hung parliament, which will be the first since the country attained independence from Britain in 1966.
It's likely to happen. And of course, that would mean post-election, the different political parties will have to negotiate between themselves to form some kind of a coalition. We don't know how it will unravel.
Maondeni sees the economy as one of the key issues in these elections. Botswana's economy is heavily reliant on diamonds, but sales of the precious gem have been in decline due to depressed global diamond demand.
The economy itself has been facing severe strains. Since beginning of this year, our diamonds are not doing well, and this is the main source of our revenue. And without diamond transactions, it means the government has run out of money.
President Masisi will face three challengers: Dumaboko from the UDC, Dumelang Salishando of the BCP, and Mipato Riatile, who leads the Botswana Patriotic Front, BPF. The BPF is backed by Masisi's predecessor, Ian Khama, who recently returned from a 3-year self-imposed exile. Kondisi Dube for VOA News, Gaborone, Botswana.
Drones are significantly impacting Africa, especially in healthcare, by delivering crucial medications to rural areas, monitoring power grids, assisting farmers in crop management, and assisting wildlife conservation by patrolling and monitoring animal populations. Africa 54 technology reporter Paul Ndiho joins us with a special guest and has more. Paul?
Thanks, Esther. As local businesses embrace the technology that Drones Are Doing Good Alliance empowers entrepreneurs with the tools and the support they need to harness the full potential of drones and pave the way for innovative solutions that benefit all Africans. Joining me in the studio is Tendaya Pasisona, I apologize for that, co-founder of the Kenyan-based Drones Alliance. Welcome to Africa for that.
Hi, Paul. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Let's start off by you telling us a little bit about what you do.
So at Drones Doing Good Alliance, we're on a mission to help to unlock the full potential of drones and the potential they have to solve challenges. So what we do is we work on 3 different areas. One of them is the regulatory aspect, making sure that there are regulations to allow for safe operation of drones. We also work on supporting businesses to have the access to the right technology. And recently we just completed phase 1, where we tested one of our drones that was built together with my partner and co-founder Hans-Peter Tam. He helped us to build this drone, which we tested in Kenya.
And how many drones have you tested so far? Just one?
So this is the big one. It's been being built for the last few years, and now we just have the results about how we can use this technology to boost businesses. So we have a program which we're implementing called the Drone Business Booster, and Simukai is our drone that's at the core of all of this, and it's spectacular because it can half the time it takes to map areas, which means that you reduce the cost by over 60%, which leads to a doubling and even tripling of profits for businesses in the space.
How significant is the drone business in Africa?
So the drone business is actually quite significant, but the main problem is you have a lot of companies. Most of these companies are small, and they're small because it's not profitable enough. So there is a use case, there are things you can do, but for some of the most lucrative opportunities that have also the highest impact, the drones right now are not fast enough. They're not able to do it at a cost-efficient way. So that's where our technology comes in and responds to that gap in the market.
How do you plan to scale up or take this to the next level?
So the first round was made possible by funding from organizations like the German government, GIZ, also from foundations like Azurit Foundation and the Lemelson Foundation. So for phase 2, we're building more alliances. We're bringing in new funding partners who can complement the ones we have and help us to roll this out as a 2-year project in Kenya, where we can get this drone to actually start to be built, maintained and repaired in country, which further reduces the cost and increases the impact.
There are very few women in this space. What does it take to be somebody like you?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because we looked at the role women play in the sector, and there's a lot of barriers. We worked to collaborate with 400 Feet on this, and we saw all the different challenges that women face, from imposter syndrome, from companies being asked, can we see the actual manager, when they're looking at the manager of the organization. So it takes determination and resilience.
Should we expect to see some of these drones flying very soon across Africa?
That's our goal. Absolutely. So we're welcoming funding partners. We are starting up alliances exactly for that reason. We're targeting Kenya, but are also looking at other countries.
What keeps drones doing good for drones mean for an average African?
Sorry, repeat the question?
What does this project mean for an average person, like a farmer who wants to use drones maybe to improve their crop productivity?
Yeah, so the drones can do so many things. So we specifically built it to be multi-purpose. So for farmers, it can help to increase their crop yields. It can allow them to know the yield estimations. It can allow them to make sure that they're using as few inputs as needed, so saving costs in that way. It's also good for many other areas. We're working on a collaboration at the moment where we use drones and AI to help with flooding and search and rescue missions. So, you know, the opportunities are endless. We're really at just the beginning of all of this.
Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but Tendai Pasanojika, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah. Tendai Pasanojika is the co-founder of Drones Are Doing Good Alliance. That's today's Take a Report. Back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Be sure to join Paul Ndiho each Wednesday for another tech report right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thanks for watching.